Arsène Lupin vs. Herlock Sholmes. Second Arrest of Arsène Lupin by Maurice Leblanc. Translated by George Moorhead. Read by Beau McKenna. Since 8 o'clock, a dozen moving vans had encumbered the Rue Crevaux between the Avenue du Bois de Boulogne and the Avenue Bugeaud. Monsieur Félix Davy was leaving the apartment in which he lived on the 4th floor of number 8, and Monsieur Dubreuil, who had united into a single apartment the 5th floor of the same house and the 5th floor of the 2 adjoining houses, was moving on the same day, a mere coincidence since the gentlemen were unknown to each other, the vast collection of furniture regarding which so many foreign agents visited him every day. A circumstance which had been noticed by some of the neighbors, but was not spoken of until later, was this. None of the 12 vans bore the name and address of the owner, and none of the men accompanying them visited the neighboring wine shops. They worked so diligently that the furniture was all out by 11 o'clock. Nothing remained but those scraps of papers and rags that are always left behind in the corners of the empty rooms. Monsieur Félix Davy, an elegant young man, dressed in the latest fashion, carried in his hand a walking stick, the weight of which indicated that its owner possessed extraordinary biceps. Monsieur Félix Davy walked calmly away and took a seat on a bench in the Avenue du Bois de Boulogne, facing the Rue Pergolese. Close to him, a woman, dressed in a neat but inexpensive costume, was reading a newspaper, whilst a child was playing with a shovel in a heap of sand. After a few minutes, Félix Davy spoke to the woman, without turning his head. Ganimard. Went out at 9 o'clock this morning. Where? To police headquarters. Alone? Yes. No telegram during the night? No. Do they suspect you in the house? No. I do some little things for Madame Ganimard, and she tells me everything her husband does. I have been with her all morning. Very well. Until further orders, come here every day at 11 o'clock. He rose and walked away in the direction of the Dauphine Gate, stopping at the Chinese pavilion, where he partook of a frugal repast consisting of 2 eggs with some fruit and vegetables. Then he returned to the Rue Crevaux and said to the concierge, I will just glance through the rooms and then give you the keys. He finished his inspection of the room that he had used as a library. Then he seized the end of a gas pipe which hung down the side of the chimney. The pipe was bent and a hole made in the elbow. To this hole he fitted a small instrument in the form of an ear trumpet and blew into it. A slight whistling sound came by way of reply. Placing the trumpet to his mouth, he said, Anyone around, Dubreuil? No. May I come up? Yes. He returned the pipe to its place, saying to himself, How progressive we are! Our century abounds with little inventions which render life really charming and picturesque, and so amusing, especially when a person knows how to enjoy life as I do. He turned one of the marble moldings of the mantel, and the entire half of the mantel moved, and the mirror above it glided in invisible grooves, disclosing an opening and the lower steps of a stairs built in the very body of the chimney, all very clean and complete. The stairs were constructed of polished metal and the walls of white tiles. He ascended the steps, and at the 5th floor there was the same opening in the chimney. Monsieur Dubreuil was waiting for him. Have you finished in your rooms? Yes. Everything cleared out? Yes. And the people? Only the 3 men on guard. Very well. Come on. They ascended to the upper floor by the same means, one after the other, and there found 3 men, one of whom was looking through the window. Anything new? Nothing, governor. All quiet in the street? Yes. In 10 minutes I will be ready to leave. You will go also, but in the meantime, if you see the least suspicious movement in the street, warn me. I have my finger on the alarm bell all the time. Dubreuil, did you tell the moving men not to touch the wire of that bell? Certainly. It is working all right. That is all I want to know. The 2 gentlemen then descended to the apartment of Félix Davy, and the latter, after adjusting the marble mantel, exclaimed joyfully, Dubreuil, I should like to see the man who is able to discover all the ingenious devices, warning bells, networks of electric wires and acoustic tubes, invisible passages, moving floors and hidden stairways. A real fairyland. What fame for Arsène Lupin! Fame I could well dispense with. It's a pity to be compelled to leave a place so well equipped and commence all over again, Dubreuil. And on a new model, of course, for it would never do to duplicate this. Curse Herlock Sholmes. Has he returned to Paris? How could he? There has been only one boat from Southampton, and it left there at midnight. Only one train from Havre, leaving there at 8 o'clock this morning, and due in Paris at 11:15. As he could not catch the midnight boat at Southampton, and the instructions to the captain on that point were explicit, he cannot reach France until this evening via Newhaven and Dieppe. Do you think he will come back? Yes. He never gives up. He will return to Paris, but it will be too late. We will be far away. And Mademoiselle Destange? I am to see her in an hour. At her house? Oh, no, she will not return there for several days. But you, Dubreuil, you must hurry. The loading of our goods will take a long time, and you should be there to look after them. Are you sure that we are not being watched? By whom? I am not afraid of anyone but Sholmes. Dubreuil retired. Felix Davy made a last tour of the apartment, picked up 2 or 3 torn letters, then, noticing a piece of chalk, he took it and, on the dark paper of the drawing-room, drew a large frame, and wrote within it the following. Arsène Lupin, gentleman burglar, lived here for 5 years, at the beginning of the 20th century. This little pleasantry seemed to please him very much. He looked at it for a moment, whistling a lively air, then said to himself, Now that I have placed myself in touch with the historians of future generations, I can go. You must hurry, Herlock Sholmes, as I shall leave my present abode in 3 minutes, and your defeat will be an accomplished fact. 2 minutes more. Now you're keeping me waiting, Monsieur Sholmes. 1 minute more. Are you not coming? Well then, I proclaim your downfall and my apotheosis. And now I make my escape. Farewell, kingdom of Arsène Lupin. I shall never see you again. Farewell to the 55 rooms of the 6 apartments over which I reigned. Farewell, my own royal bedchamber. His outburst of joy was interrupted by the sharp ringing of a bell, which stopped twice, started again, and then ceased. It was the alarm bell. What was wrong? What unforeseen danger? Ganimard? No, that was impossible. He was on the point of returning to his library and making his escape, but first he went to the window. There was no one in the street. Was the enemy already in the house? He listened, and thought he could discern certain confused sounds. He hesitated no longer. He ran to his library, and as he crossed the threshold, he heard the noise of a key being inserted in the lock of the vestibule door. The deuce, he murmured. I have no time to lose. The house may be surrounded. The servants' stairway, impossible. Fortunately, there is the chimney. He pushed the molding. It did not move. He made a greater effort. Still, it refused to move. At the same time, he had the impression that the door below opened and that he could hear footsteps. Good God, he cried, I am lost if this cursed mechanism... He pushed with all his strength. Nothing moved. Nothing. By some incredible accident, by some evil stroke of fortune, the mechanism, which had worked only a few moments ago, would not work now. He was furious. The block of marble remained immovable. He uttered frightful imprecations on the senseless stone. Was his escape to be prevented by that stupid obstacle? He struck the marble wildly, madly. He hammered it. He cursed it. Ah, what's the matter, Monsieur Lupin? You seem to be displeased about something. Lupin turned around. Herlock Sholmes stood before him. Herlock Sholmes. Lupin gazed at him with squinting eyes, as if his sight were defective and misleading. Herlock Sholmes, in Paris. Herlock Sholmes, whom he had shipped to England only the day before as a dangerous person, now stood before him free and victorious. Ah, such a thing was nothing less than a miracle. It was contrary to all natural laws. It was the culmination of all that is illogical and abnormal. Herlock Sholmes here, before his face. And when the Englishman spoke, his words were tinged with that keen sarcasm and mocking politeness with which his adversary had so often lashed him. He said, "Monsieur Lupin, in the first place, I have the honor to inform you that at this time and place I blot from my memory forever all thoughts of the miserable night that you forced me to endure in the house of Baron d'Autrec, of the injury done to my friend Wilson, of my abduction in the automobile, and of the voyage I took yesterday under your orders, bound to a very uncomfortable couch. But the joy of this moment effaces all those bitter memories. I forgive everything. I forget everything. I wipe out the debt. I am paid, and royally paid." Lupin made no reply, so the Englishman continued, "Don't you think so yourself?" He appeared to insist as if demanding an acquiescence, as a sort of receipt in regard to the part. After a moment's reflection, during which the Englishman felt that he was scrutinized to the very depth of his soul, Lupin declared, "I presume, monsieur, that your conduct is based upon serious motives?" "Very serious. The fact that you have escaped from my captain and his crew is only a secondary incident of our struggle. But the fact that you are here before me alone, understand, alone, face to face with Arsène Lupin, leads me to think that your revenge is as complete as possible." "As complete as possible." "This house? Surrounded. The 2 adjoining houses? Surrounded. The apartment above this? The 3 apartments on the 5th floor that were formerly occupied by Monsieur Dubreuil are surrounded." So that you are captured, Monsieur Lupin. Absolutely captured." The feelings that Sholmes had experienced during his trip in the automobile were now suffered by Lupin. The same concentrated fury, the same revolt, and also, let us admit, the same loyalty of submission to force of circumstances, equally brave in victory or defeat. "Our accounts are squared, monsieur," said Lupin frankly. The Englishman was pleased with that confession. After a short silence, Lupin, now quite self-possessed, said smiling, "And I am not sorry. It becomes monotonous to win all the time. Yesterday I had only to stretch out my hands to finish you forever. Today I belong to you. The game is yours." Lupin laughed heartily and then continued, "At last the gallery will be entertained. Lupin in prison. How will he get out? In prison. What an adventure. Ah, Sholmes, life is just one damn thing after another." He pressed his closed hands to his temples as if to suppress the tumultuous joy that surged within him, and his actions indicated that he was moved by an uncontrollable mirth. At last, when he had recovered his self-possession, he approached the detective and said, "And now, what are you waiting for?" "What am I waiting for?" "Yes, Ganimard is here with his men. Why don't they come in?" "I asked him not to." "And he consented?" "I accepted his services on condition that he would be guided by me. Besides, he thinks that Felix Davy is only an accomplice of Arsène Lupin." "Then I will repeat my question in another form. Why did you come in alone?" "Because I wish to speak to you alone." Ah, you have something to say to me." That idea seemed to please Lupin immensely. There are certain circumstances in which words are preferable to deeds. Monsieur Sholmes, I am sorry I cannot offer you an easy chair. How would you like that broken box? Or perhaps you would prefer the window ledge. I'm sure a glass of beer would be welcome, light or dark. But sit down, please. Thank you. We can talk as well standing up. Very well, proceed. I will be brief. The object of my sojourn in France was not to accomplish your arrest. If I have been led to pursue you, it was because I saw no other way to achieve my real object. Which was to recover the blue diamond. The blue diamond? Certainly, since the one found in Herr Bleichen's tooth powder was only an imitation. Quite right. The genuine diamond was taken by the blonde lady. I made an exact duplicate of it, and then, as I had designs on other jewels belonging to the Countess, and as the Consul Herr Bleichen was already under suspicion, the aforesaid blonde lady, in order to avert suspicion, slipped the false stone into the aforesaid Consul's luggage, while you kept the genuine diamond. Of course. That diamond. I want it. I am very sorry, but it is impossible. I have promised it to the Countess de Crozon. I must have it. How will you get it, since it is in my possession? That is precisely the reason. Because it is in your possession. Oh, I am to give it to you? Yes. Voluntarily? I will buy it. Ah! Exclaimed Lupin, in an excess of mirth. You are certainly an Englishman. You treat this as a matter of business. It is a matter of business. Well, what is your offer? The liberty of Mademoiselle Destange. Her liberty? I didn't know she was under arrest. I will give Monsieur Ganimard the necessary information. When deprived of your protection, she can readily be taken. Lupin laughed again and said, "Oh, my dear monsieur, you are offering me something you do not possess. Mademoiselle Destange is in a place of safety, and has nothing to fear. You must make me another offer." The Englishman hesitated, visibly embarrassed and vexed. Then, placing his hand on the shoulder of his adversary, he said, "And if I should propose to you my liberty?" "No. But I can leave the room to consult with Ganimard." "And to leave me alone?" "Yes." "Ah, mon Dieu, what good would that be?" "The cursed mechanism would not work," said Lupin, at the same time savagely pushing the molding of the mantle. He stifled a cry of surprise. This time fortune favored him. The block of marble moved. It was his salvation, his hope of escape. In that event, why submit to the conditions imposed by Sholmes? He paced up and down the room as if he were considering his reply. Then, in his turn, he placed his hand on the shoulder of his adversary and said, "All things considered, Monsieur Sholmes, I prefer to do my own business in my own way. But, no, I don't require anyone's assistance. When Ganimard gets his hand on you, it will be all over. You can't escape from them." "Who knows?" "Come, that is foolish. Every door and window is guarded. Except one." "Which?" "The one I will choose." "Mere words. Your arrest is as good as made." "Oh, no, not at all." "Well, I shall keep the blue diamond." Sholmes looked at his watch and said, "It is now 10 minutes to 3. At 3 o'clock I shall call Ganimard." "Well then, we have 10 minutes to chat. And to satisfy my curiosity, Monsieur Sholmes, I should like to know how you procured my address and my name of Felix Davy." Although his adversary's easy manner caused Sholmes some anxiety, he was willing to give Lupin the desired information, since it reflected credit on his professional astuteness. So he replied, "Your address? I got it from the blonde lady." "Clotilde?" "Herself. Do you remember yesterday morning, when I wished to take her away in the automobile? She telephoned to her dressmaker. Well? Well, I understood later that you were the dressmaker. And last night on the boat, by exercising my memory, and my memory is something I have good reason to be proud of, I was able to recollect the last two figures of your telephone number. 73. Then, as I possessed a list of the houses you had improved, it was an easy matter, on my arrival in Paris at 11 o'clock this morning, to search in the telephone directory and find there the name and address of Felix Davy. Having obtained that information, I asked the aid of Monsieur Ganimard. Admirable! I congratulate you. But how did you manage to catch the 8 o'clock train at Havre? How did you escape from the Swallow? I did not escape. But you ordered the captain not to reach Southampton before 1 o'clock. He landed me there at midnight. I was able to catch the 12 o'clock boat for Havre. Did the captain betray me? I can't believe it. No, he did not betray you. Well, what then? It was his watch. His watch? Yes, I put it ahead 1 hour. How? In the usual way, by turning the hands. We were sitting side by side, talking, and I was telling him some funny stories. Why, he never saw me do it. Bravo! A very clever trick. I shall not forget it. But the clock that was hanging on the wall of the cabin. Ah, the clock was a more difficult matter, as my feet were tied, but the sailor, who guarded me during the captain's absence, was kind enough to turn the hands for me. He? Nonsense, he wouldn't do it. Oh, but he didn't know the importance of his act. I told him I must catch the first train for London at any price, and he allowed himself to be persuaded. By means of a slight gift, which the excellent fellow, loyal and true to his master, intends to send to you. What was it? A mere trifle. But what? The blue diamond. The blue diamond? Yes, the false stone that you substituted for the Countess's diamond. She gave it to me. There was a sudden explosion of violent laughter. Lupin laughed until the tears started in his eyes. Mon Dieu, but it is funny. My false diamond palmed off on my innocent sailor. And the captain's watch, and the hands of the clock. Sholmes felt that the duel between him and Lupin was keener than ever. His marvelous instinct warned him that, behind his adversary's display of mirth, there was a shrewd intellect debating the ways and means to escape. Gradually Lupin approached the Englishman, who recoiled and, unconsciously, slipped his hand into his watch pocket. "It is 3 o'clock, Monsieur Lupin." 3 o'clock already? What a pity! We were enjoying our chat so much. I am waiting for your answer. My answer? Mon Dieu, but you are particular. And so this is the last move in our little game. And the stake is my liberty. Or the blue diamond. Very well. It's your play. What are you going to do? I play the king, said Sholmes, as he fired his revolver. And I the ace, replied Lupin, as he struck at Sholmes with his fist. Sholmes had fired into the air, as a signal to Ganimard, whose assistance he required, but Lupin's fist had caught Sholmes in the mouth, and caused him to double up with pain. Lupin rushed to the fireplace and set the marble slab in motion. Too late. The door opened. Surrender, Lupin, or I fire! Ganimard, doubtless stationed closer than Lupin had thought. Ganimard was there, with his revolver turned on Lupin. And behind Ganimard there were 20 men, strong and ruthless fellows, who would beat him like a dog at the least sign of resistance. Hands down, I surrender, said Lupin, calmly, as he folded his arms across his breast. Everyone was amazed. In the room, divested of its furniture and hangings, Arsène Lupin's words sounded like an echo. I surrender. It seemed incredible, No one would have been astonished if he had suddenly vanished through a trap, or if a section of the wall had rolled away and allowed him to escape. But he surrendered. Ganimard advanced, nervously, and with all the gravity that the importance of the occasion demanded, he placed his hand on the shoulder of his adversary, and had the infinite pleasure of saying, "I arrest you, Arsène Lupin." "Brrr," said Lupin. "You make me shiver, my dear Ganimard. What a lugubrious face! One would imagine you were speaking over the grave of a friend. For heaven's sake, don't assume such a funereal air. I arrest you. But don't let that worry you. In the name of the law, of which he is a well-deserving pillar, Ganimard, the celebrated Parisian detective, arrests the wicked Arsène Lupin. An historic event, of which you will appreciate the true importance. And it is the second time that it has happened. Bravo, Ganimard. You are sure of advancement in your chosen profession." And he held out his wrists for the handcuffs. Ganimard adjusted them in a most solemn manner. The numerous policemen, despite their customary presumption and the bitterness of their feelings toward Lupin, conducted themselves with becoming modesty, astonished at being permitted to gaze upon that mysterious and intangible creature. "My poor Lupin," sighed our hero. "What would your aristocratic friends say if they should see you in this humiliating position?" He pulled his wrists apart with all his strength. The veins in his forehead expanded. The links of the chain cut into his flesh. The chain fell off, broken. "Another, comrades. That one was useless." They placed 2 on him this time. "Quite right," he said. "You cannot be too careful." Then, counting the detectives and policemen, he said, "How many are you, my friends? 25? 30? That's too many. I can't do anything. If there had been only 15. There was something fascinating about Lupin. It was the fascination of the great actor who plays his role with spirit and understanding, combined with assurance and ease. Sholmes regarded him as one might regard a beautiful painting, with a due appreciation of all its perfection in coloring and technique. And he really thought that it was an equal struggle between those 30 men on one side, armed as they were with all the strength and majesty of the law, and, on the other side, that solitary individual, unarmed and handcuffed. Yes, the 2 sides were well matched. "Well, master," said Lupin to the Englishman, "this is your work. Thanks to you, Lupin is going to rot on the damp straw of a dungeon. Confess that your conscience pricks you a little, and that your soul is filled with remorse." In spite of himself, Sholmes shrugged his shoulders as if to say, "It's your own fault." "Never, never!" exclaimed Lupin. "Give you the blue diamond? Oh, no, it has cost me too much trouble. I intend to keep it. On my occasion of my first visit to you in London, which will probably be next month, I will tell you my reasons. But will you be in London next month? Or do you prefer Vienna or St. Petersburg?" Then Lupin received a surprise. A bell commenced to ring. It was not the alarm bell, but the bell of the telephone, which was located between the 2 windows of the room, and had not yet been removed. The telephone? Who could it be? Who was about to fall into this unfortunate trap? Arsène Lupin exhibited an access of rage against the unlucky instrument, as if he would like to break it into 1,000 pieces, and thus stifle the mysterious voice that was calling for him. But it was Ganimard who took down the receiver, and said, "Hello? Hello? Number 648.73? Yes, this is it." Then Sholmes stepped up, and, with an air of authority, pushed Ganimard aside, took the receiver, and covered the transmitter with his handkerchief in order to obscure the tone of his voice. At that moment he glanced toward Lupin, and the look which they exchanged indicated that the same idea had occurred to each of them, and that they foresaw the ultimate result of that theory. It was the blonde lady who was telephoning. She wished to telephone to Felix Davy, or rather to Maxime Bermond, and it was to Sholmes she was about to speak. The Englishman said, "Hello? Hello?" Then, after a silence, he said, "Yes, it is I, Maxime." The drama had commenced, and was progressing with tragic precision. Lupin, the irrepressible and nonchalant Lupin, did not attempt to conceal his anxiety, and he strained every nerve in a desire to hear, or, at least, to divine the purport of the conversation. And Sholmes continued, in reply to the mysterious voice, "Hello? Hello? Yes, everything has been moved, and I am just ready to leave here and meet you as we agreed." "Where?" "Where you are now." "Don't believe that he is here yet." Sholmes stopped, seeking for words. It was clear that he was trying to question the girl without betraying himself, and that he was ignorant of her whereabouts. Moreover, Ganimard's presence seemed to embarrass him. Ah, if some miracle would only interrupt that cursed conversation. Lupin prayed for it with all his strength, with all the intensity of his incited nerves. After a momentary pause, Sholmes continued, "Hello? Hello? Do you hear me?" "I can't hear you very well. Can scarcely make out what you say. Are you listening? Well, I think you had better return home. No danger now." "But he is in England. I have received a telegram from Southampton announcing his arrival." The sarcasm of those words! Sholmes uttered them with an inexpressible comfort, and he added, "Very well, don't lose any time. I would meet you there." He hung up the receiver. "Monsieur Ganimard, can you furnish me with 3 men? "For the blonde lady, eh?" "Yes." "You know who she is, and where she is?" "Yes." "Good. That settles Monsieur Lupin. Fourneval, take 2 men, and go with Monsieur Sholmes." The Englishman departed, accompanied by the 3 men. The game was ended. The blonde lady was, also, about to fall into the hands of the Englishman. Thanks to his commendable persistence and to a combination of fortuitous circumstances, the battle had resulted in a victory for the detective, and an irreparable disaster for Lupin. "Monsieur Sholmes!" The Englishman stopped. "Monsieur Lupin." Lupin was clearly shattered by this final blow. His forehead was marked by deep wrinkles. He was sullen and dejected. However, he pulled himself together, and, notwithstanding his defeat, he exclaimed in a cheerful tone, "You will concede that fate has been against me. A few minutes ago, it prevented my escape through that chimney, and delivered me into your hands. Now, by means of the telephone, it presents you with the blonde lady. I submit to its decrees." "What do you mean?" "I mean that I am ready to reopen our negotiation." Sholmes took Ganimard aside and asked, in a manner that did not permit a reply, the authority to exchange a few words with the prisoner. Then he approached Lupin and said in a sharp, nervous tone, "What do you want?" "Mademoiselle Destange's liberty." "You know the price?" "Yes." "And you accept?" "Yes. I accept your terms." "Ah," said the Englishman in surprise. "But you refused. For yourself?" "Yes, I can look out for myself, Monsieur Sholmes. But now the question concerns a young woman, and a woman I love. In France, understand, we have very decided ideas about such things. And Lupin has the same feelings as other people." He spoke with simplicity and candor. Sholmes replied by an almost imperceptible inclination of his head, and murmured, "Very well. The blue diamond. Take my cane. There, at the end of the mantle. Press on the head of the cane with one hand, and with the other turned the iron ferrule at the bottom. Holmes took the cane and followed the directions. As he did so, the head of the cane divided and disclosed a cavity which contained a small ball of wax, which, in turn, enclosed a diamond. He examined it. It was the blue diamond. Monsieur Lupin, Mademoiselle Destange is free. Is her future safety assured? Has she nothing to fear from you? Neither from me nor anyone else. How can you manage it? Quite easily. I have forgotten her name and address. Thank you. And au revoir, for I will see you again sometime, Monsieur Sholmes. I have no doubt of it. Then followed an animated conversation between Sholmes and Ganimard, which was abruptly terminated by the Englishman, who said, I am very sorry, Monsieur Ganimard, that we cannot agree on that point, but I have no time to waste trying to convince you. I leave for England within an hour. But the broad lady? I do not know such a person. And yet, a moment ago, you must take the affair as it stands. I have delivered Arsène Lupin into your hands. Here is the blue diamond, which you will have the pleasure of returning to the Countess de Crozon. What more do you want? The blonde lady. Find her. Sholmes pulled his cap down over his forehead and walked rapidly away, like a man who is accustomed to go as soon as his business is finished. Bon voyage, monsieur, cried Lupin. And believe me, I shall never forget the friendly way in which our little business affairs have been arranged. My regards to Monsieur Wilson. Not receiving any reply, Lupin added sneeringly, This is what is called taking British leave. Ah, their insular dignity lacks the flower of courtesy by which we are distinguished. Consider for a moment, Ganimard, what a charming exit a Frenchman would have made under similar circumstances. With what exquisite courtesy he would have masked his triumph. But, God bless me, Ganimard, what are you doing? Making a search? Come, what's the use? There's nothing left, not even a scrap of paper. I assure you my archives are in a safe place. I am not so sure of that, replied Ganimard. I must search everything. Lupin submitted to the operation. Held by 2 detectives and surrounded by the others, he patiently endured the proceedings for 20 minutes. Then he said, Hurry up, Ganimard, and finish. You are in a hurry? Of course I am. An important appointment. At the police station? No, in the city. Ah, at what time? 2 o'clock. It is 3 o'clock now. Just so. I will be late, and punctuality is one of my virtues. But give me 5 minutes. Not a second more, said Lupin. I am doing my best to expedite— Oh, don't talk so much. Still searching that cupboard? It is empty. Here are some letters. Old invoices, I presume. Oh, a packet tied with a ribbon. A red ribbon? Oh, Ganimard, for God's sake, don't untie it. From a woman? Yes. A woman of the world? The best in the world. Her name? Madame Ganimard. Very funny, exclaimed the detective. At that moment, the men who had been sent to search the other rooms returned and announced their failure to find anything. Lupin laughed and said, Parbleu! Did you expect to find my visiting list or evidence of my business relations with the Emperor of Germany? But I can tell you what you should investigate, Ganimard. All the little mysteries of this apartment. For instance, that gas pipe is a speaking tube. That chimney contains a stairway, that wall is hollow, and a marvelous system of bells. Ah, Ganimard, just press that button. Ganimard obeyed. Did you hear anything? Asked Lupin. No. Neither did I. And yet, you notified my aeronaut to prepare the dirigible balloon which will soon carry us into the clouds. Come, said Ganimard, who had completed his search. We've had enough nonsense. Let's be off. He started away, followed by his men. Lupin did not move. His guardians pushed him in vain. "Well," said Ganimard, "do you refuse to go?" "Not at all. But it depends." "On what?" "Where you want to take me." "To the station house, of course." "Then I refuse to go. I have no business there." "Are you crazy?" "Did I not tell you that I had an important appointment?" "Lupin." Why, Ganimard, I have an appointment with the blonde lady, and do you suppose I would be so discourteous as to cause her a moment's anxiety? That would be very ungentlemanly." "Listen, Lupin," said the detective, who was becoming annoyed by this persiflage. "I have been very patient with you, but I will endure no more. Follow me." "Impossible. I have an appointment, and I shall keep it. For the last time, follow me." "Impossible." At a sign from Ganimard, 2 men seized Lupin by the arms, but they released him at once, uttering cries of pain. Lupin had thrust 2 long needles into them. The other men now rushed at Lupin with cries of rage and hatred, eager to avenge their comrades and to avenge themselves for the many affronts he had heaped upon them. And now they struck and beat him to their heart's desire. A violent blow on the temple felled Lupin to the floor. "If you hurt him, you will answer to me," growled Ganimard in a rage. He leaned over Lupin to ascertain his condition. Then, learning that he was breathing freely, Ganimard ordered his men to carry the prisoner by the head and feet, while he himself supported the body. "Go gently now. Don't jolt him. The brutes would have killed him. Well, Lupin, how goes it?" "None too well, Ganimard. You let them knock me out." "It was your own fault. You were so obstinate," replied Ganimard. "But I hope they didn't hurt you." They had left the apartment and were now on the landing. Lupin groaned and stammered. "Ganimard, the elevator. They are breaking my bones." "A good idea. An excellent idea," replied Ganimard. "Besides, the stairway is too narrow." He summoned the elevator. They placed Lupin on the seat with the greatest care. Ganimard took his place beside him and said to his men, "Go down the stairs and wait for me below. Understand?" Ganimard closed the door of the elevator. Suddenly, the elevator shot upward like a balloon released from its cable. Lupin burst into a fit of sardonic laughter. "Good God!" cried Ganimard as he made a frantic search in the dark for the button of descent. Having found it, he cried, "The 5th floor! Watch the door of the 5th floor!" His assistants clambered up the stairs 2 and 3 steps at a time, but this strange circumstance happened. The elevator seemed to break through the ceiling of the last floor, disappeared from sight of Ganimard's assistants, suddenly made its appearance on the upper floor, the servants' floor, and stopped. 3 men were waiting for it. They opened the door. 2 of them seized Ganimard, who, astonished at the sudden attack, scarcely made any defense. The other man carried off Lupin. "I warned you, Ganimard, about the dirigible balloon. Another time, don't be so tender-hearted. And moreover, remember that Arsène Lupin doesn't allow himself to be struck and knocked down without sufficient reason. Adieu." The door of the elevator was already closed on Ganimard, and the machine began to descend. And it all happened so quickly that the old detective reached the ground floor as soon as his assistants. Without exchanging a word, they crossed the court and ascended the servants' stairway, which was the only way to reach the servants' floor through which the escape had been made. A long corridor with several turns and bordered with little-numbered rooms led to a door that was not locked. On the other side of this door, and, therefore, in another house, there was another corridor with similar turns and similar rooms, and at the end of it a servants' stairway. Ganimard descended it, crossed a court and a vestibule, and found himself in the Rue Picot. Then he understood the situation. The 2 houses, built the entire depth of the lawns, touched at the rear, while the fronts of the houses faced upon two streets that ran parallel to each other at a distance of more than 60 meters apart. He found the concierge and, showing his card, inquired, "Did 4 men pass here just now?" "Yes, the 2 servants from the 4th and 5th floors, with 2 friends." "Who lives on the 4th and 5th floors?" "2 men named Fanvellen, their cousins, whose name is Provost. They moved today, leaving the 2 servants who went away just now." "Ah," thought Ganimard, "what a grand opportunity we have missed. The entire band lived in these houses." And he sank down on a chair in despair. 40 minutes later, 2 gentlemen were driving up to the station of the Northern Railway and hurried to the Calais Express, followed by a porter who carried their valises. One of them had his arm in a sling, and the pallor of his face denoted some illness. The other man was in a jovial mood. "We must hurry, Wilson, or we will miss the train. Ah, Wilson, I shall never forget these 10 days." "Neither will I." "Ah, it was a great struggle. It was superb. A few repulses here and there, of no consequence. And at last, victory all along the line. Lupin arrested. The blue diamond recovered. My arm broken. What does a broken arm count for in such a victory as that? Especially when it is my arm. Ah, yes, don't you remember, Wilson, that it was at the very time you were in the pharmacy, suffering like a hero, that I discovered the clue to the whole mystery. How lucky." The doors of the carriages were being closed. "All aboard! Hurry up, gentlemen." The porter climbed into an empty compartment and placed their valises in the rack, whilst Sholmes assisted the unfortunate Wilson. "What's the matter, Wilson? You're not done up, are you? Come, pull your nerves together." "My nerves are all right." "Well, what is it then?" "I have only one hand." "What of it?" exclaimed Sholmes cheerfully. "You are not the only one who has had a broken arm. Cheer up." Sholmes handed the porter a piece of 50 centimes. "Thank you, Monsieur Sholmes," said the porter. The Englishman looked at him. It was Arsène Lupin. You, he stammered, absolutely astounded. And Wilson brandished his sound arm in the manner of a man who demonstrates a fact as he said, You, but you were arrested. Sholmes told me so. When he left you, Ganimard and 30 men had you in charge." Lupin folded his arms and said, with an air of indignation, "Did you suppose I would let you go away without bidding you adieu? After the very friendly relations that have always existed between us, that would be discourteous and ungrateful on my part." The train whistled. Lupin continued, "I beg your pardon, but have you everything you need? Tobacco and matches? Yes, and the evening papers? You will find in them an account of my arrest, your last exploit, Monsieur Sholmes. And now, au revoir. Am delighted to have made your acquaintance. And if ever I can be of any service to you, I shall be only too happy." He leaped to the platform and closed the door. "Adieu," he repeated, waving his handkerchief. "Adieu. I shall write to you. You will write also, eh? And your arm broken, Wilson, I am truly sorry. I shall expect to hear from both of you. A postal card now and then. Simply address Lupin, Paris. That is sufficient. Adieu. See you soon." End of Arsène Lupin vs. Herlock Sholmes, Second Arrest of Arsène Lupin, by Maurice Leblanc. Translated by George Moorhead. Read by Bo McKenna.